5:30. Let's jump right into roll call. Eric.
Here.
Joey.
Here.
Tanya. Edgar.
Here.
Dane.
Here.
I'm here. Alex.
Here.
Dr. Kennedy.
Here.
Lacey.
Here.
Kane. Demetria.
Here.
Kirti.
Here.
Greg.
Here.
Vinay.
Here.
Patrick.
Here.
Brandon.
Here.
Awesome. So if everyone can look over tonight's agenda, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Kane moves, Eric seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of approval? All those opposed? All those abstaining? With that, it passes. If everyone could look at the minutes from last week's meeting. Eric.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Eric moves, Demetria seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? With that, the motion passes. Now for reports, I don't have any this evening.
Yeah, so I was able to present at the PBAC committee meeting that was yesterday. There we go, using the calendar. So they voted to approve all the funding requests. So at this time, everything that's on the docket that you guys have approved is now approved at the PBAC level. The next piece I just wanted to remind everybody is that there is $24,940 left in the supplemental budget.
The only part I have is just as a reminder, one, we are meeting next week. It'll be the last meeting for winter quarter because we don't meet during finals or spring break. So we do have a couple of requests that have come in. Just due to timing wise, we will likely want to hear them and vote on them the same night. So that way we're not sitting at a 3-week gap between hearing and then trying to remember for discussion purposes. So we'll try and make sure we get the information out to you all in advance so you can look over it and take that piece. The other part is, I know I mentioned last week, pending us getting more, that we would start discussing the annual reports. Given that we'll have those coming up next week to hear and vote on, my plan is to go ahead and put for our first meeting of spring quarter that we'll spend a good chunk of it, about half the meeting, potentially looking at the annual reports at that point, and then hearing any requests that come in after that. But we'll send out that notice and reminder ahead of time, so if you all get the chance to look over any of the annual reports on the website and note if there are questions or things, that'll help speed that along. But that the plan is to have that on the docket for that first meeting, since we do have the additional requests and then also the minimum wage discussion on the docket for next week.
Thank you. So this is the first call for public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and jump into old business, subsection A, supplemental funding requests, voting. We'll start with request 1939, the International Women in Aviation Conference. The table's open for discussion. Edgar.
I do think it's pretty cool big opportunity for them. The only thing that I know it's kind of a good thing that they're not opening it up to a bunch of people to go. But it's also kind of not disappointing, but I just don't feel, I don't know why they wouldn't want to open it up to other people in the club. So that's just
Demetria.
Similarly to what Edgar said, I think that the board members do have a lot of buy-in so far, but I think that there obviously could have been more members within the club that would have easily given that much buy-in as well. And that I would have liked to see how we've seen so many other groups have some sort of process where board members can still go, but it still is, again, opening it up to more people, especially if one of their key points is about retention, making sure that all of the students in that club are getting the opportunity to go.
Any further discussion or motions on the table? approve it?
To discuss it further, I mean, at least like the people that are going are the ones that are presumably like one of like some of the more committed students to go, as well as like the ones that would probably retain the most information at the conference. And they said they would bring it back kind of like twofold, by they reteach what they learn, as well as like they're gonna video and kind of like make reports as well as like presentations on it. So I think maybe next time around, I mean that's not up to us, but I think maybe they'll go and they'll bring this back, and then maybe that'll like intrigue more of the members, and then like they'll probably like see how many more people are interested in it, and then it wouldn't just be like, oh, we're not just gonna bring anyone because they're not committed. They'll actually have people that are like intrigued by what happened this year, and then they'll have more people, and then they can have like other members than just their board members going. So I think sending them would be beneficial to the club and the CWU campus.
I do agree on that. It was more of them them feeling like they're gonna have to babysit other people, and that's why they're not letting anybody else go.
I don't know, I felt like if they were the board members there, like, they probably work a lot harder than the club members, and they're committed too, so maybe they deserve a little higher, I don't want to say reward, but, that extra thing to go. I don't know. I think the question is do we approve it or do we not approve it here? So, I don't think we cut funding, I think so. I think we're going to have to. Not going to have to, but I'd like to make a motion to approve the full amount of $2,731.
There's a motion on the table. Brandon seconds. Is there any discussion? Alex?
I see here that they have meals on their expenses, so that would, yeah.
Well, we're getting funding from Club Senate as well as. They don't do food either. What about Senate student?
Alex?
I'd just say approve the amount. The amount is good.
Eric?
Point of order, you would need to amend the motion.
I would like to make an amendment.
Okay, what's your amendment?
Is it you wanting the amendment to be approving in the full amount, but not to
Not to
cover
fund food.
food costs? I'll let you add your comment. Let's clarify what his amendment was.
Brandon seconds. Alex's amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
This is just amending the motion. As a reminder, because you're going to vote on the amending the motion.
Seeing no discussion on the amendment to not include food in the total amount. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. Now we're back on the original motion of approving in the full amount, now with the amendment attached. Any discussion on the motion at hand? Lacey?
So to be clear, the motion is to fund the full amount, but to not cover food expenses. So if there's other expenses that come in higher and are under the 2731, that's okay.
Tanya?
But only the things that they put in anticipated expenses, but if like airfare was more, right? So it couldn't be like an additional, I'm just trying to figure out, is that right? Is that how that works? Like it would just be these expenses, like if they're like, oh, well, we decided to add in this bonus feature, like would that be a possibility? Or is it just the things that are in anticipated expenses, should they cost more than they think, then that's how that money gets used?
David? Oh, sorry.
So are we funding 2,700 or are we going to fund 2,100?
I was, yeah.
The motion is for
I
27.
thought we were amending.
The amendment was for the full amount, but not to allow to cover food
I'll make
costs.
another amendment.
Eric?
I'd like to amend the motion to reduce the original amendment by $600 for a total of $2,131.
Okay, so there's an amendment on the table. Demetria, oh,
Second.
seconds, okay. Is there any discussion on the amendment to the motion? All right, seeing none. All in favor of this amendment? All opposed? Any abstaining? And with that, the amendment is approved. And now we are back on the motion of approving an amount of $2,131. Any discussion on this motion?
For 2131.
Yes. All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving for $2,131? All those opposed? Any abstaining? And with that, the motion passes in the allotted amount. All right, now we'll move on to request 1940, the National ACS Conference in the amount of $1,000. Table is open for discussion. Dimitri?
I thought that the group's presentation was really well put together. Also, the research sounds really interesting and something that I think will be eye-catching towards other people, so that way they can, forgot the word, but they're going to meet a lot of other people then within the field, networking. Yeah, they'll have great networking opportunities, I think, at this conference, and the amount of work that they put into it, I think this is a way to kind of reward them in that sense.
Eric?
In my understanding of the field, it's very male-driven. So to see two students from Central that really did a wonderful presentation, they're ready to go. I think that really speaks a lot.
Okay.
I think further on that point is that they very well stated that they're not only going for themselves, but to bring back research for their students or the ACS Society or the ACS Club, but so that if there's potential partners that students doing research here get find from this conference and network across the entire country, that opportunity is exciting for them.
Eric?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the full amount of $1,000.
Eric moves, Dane seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving for $1,000? All those opposed? Any abstaining? With that, the motion passes. Now we'll move on to request 1941, the San Francisco trip for the Student Art Club, in the amount of $2,000. Demetria?
I thought this was a really interesting trip because they had talked about how another trip that's typically put on by the department, I think, is no longer an option for them. So that to see students have the initiative to come up with something and also invite people that are not only art majors, but I think they also have some graphic design people as well. That's really interesting to see, and I really think that the museums they've chosen and all the different reasons that they presented were really interesting and will really bring back a lot for those 11 students, plus I think to the community as well.
Okay.
I did enjoy kind of on the teacher's point as well, as that they took the initiative and made it so well structured. They took the time to find what museums were open, what exhibits were open, so that they could show us exactly what they were doing and had a distinct plan about exactly what they plan on doing during their days there. So that was really impressive and nice to see.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to allot the full amount.
Kane moves, Edgar seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving for the full amount? All those opposed? All those abstaining? With that, the motion passes. Now let's move on to request 1942, the event honoring Cesar Chavez. Eric.
I think this is an important event for Central because the organization bringing, honoring Cesar Chavez, someone that's very important, especially out here in the West. And also recognizing that this is not just the Latinx community, but they're also recognizing the Filipino community that is a part of this whole Isang Bagsec. I said it wrong, I apologize. And then the connection to have his grandson come here and speak and represent is beneficial to our school.
Demetria.
I also really appreciated how they talked about that interactive kind of workshop that they do. So last year it was picking and like seeing how that was, and that immersive experience I think is really beneficial to a lot of students. And to see what they're going to do this year. I know she briefly mentioned it, but I'm really excited for that.
Eric.
I'd like to make a motion to fund the full amount of $1,800.
Eric moves, Brandon seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving for the full amount? All those opposed? Any abstaining? With that, the motion passes. Now we will move into new business, subsection A, the base funding program reviews. And we will start with the pep band.
Oh, you guys, did you read some of it or? Okay.
Cool. So it's not gonna pull up on the older browser. So we're from the Pep Band, and we're here to just talk about our base funding and talk about the S&A supplemental agreement that you guys gave us 2 years ago. So we really wanted to say that thank you, that we really appreciate the funding that you gave us. It's really allowed us to do a lot of great things to enhance the basketball environment here at CWU and really make the athletics department have a much better atmosphere and make students want to come to more games and to support your athletics team. So.
A lot of the equipment that has been purchased for the basketball and pep band has enabled the pep band to persist with being the sound of Central, because we have a very unique sound compared to other collegiate bands, and there are arrangements made specifically for us, and we've been able to continue down that path because of the funding that we've received from you guys.
So things that we've been able to do with the base allocation that you gave us is that we've been able to grow our member base. So we've gone from a little under 40 members to almost 50, which is great for the basketball environment. And we've also been able to add more we've been able to add members, but we've also been able to compensate those members more equally for their travel time, for their time being at the game. We've also, with the supplemental amount that you gave us, we were able to purchase all new instruments for all of our like rhythm sections, so our guitar players, our piano players, our drum players. Previously they've been using like their own instruments or really out-of-date equipment. So now we've been able to purchase much more updated equipment that fits the modern sound that we are producing.
And then because of all of this, all the students that participate and the grad student whose job it is to lead this ensemble are able to really have these experiences that will better them out in the professional world.
So some of the things that we've purchased with the S&A supplemental amount that you gave us, which was $26,692, we were able to purchase a sound system. We were able to purchase an iPad to run the sound system, purchase a MacBook computer in order to run all of our electronic instruments through. We've also been able to purchase, like I said, a drum set, which involves like the snare drum, bass drum, cymbals, you name it. We've also been able to purchase guitars, bass guitars, and synthesizers for the group. And then along with that, we've also been able to, with the base allocation of 21,783, we've been able to set ourselves on a sustainable route. So if we have instruments that maybe need to be updated with newer software or need to have replacement parts, we're able to maintain that rather than let them wear down and have to purchase much more expensive instruments later. I think at this point, do you guys have any questions?
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we'll have base funding program review from the Office of Undergraduate Research.
Here we go. Hi. Me too.
I can always just go here.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
All right, thank you. I'm Griff Tester. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Sociology and the director of the Office of Undergraduate Research. I'm here joined by the Office of Undergraduate Research Program Coordinator, Erin Cohn. Thank you for having us, and thank you for the support through the Office of Undergraduate Research. So I just wanted to take some time today to talk about how we're using those funds and thinking ahead, how we're thinking about making some changes for next year. So today's, if I'm understanding correctly, today will just be about Office of Undergraduate Research. We'll deal with source next quarter. Yeah, okay. So as far as I understand, thinking about history here, that the Office of Undergraduate Research has received S&A funding in this form for approximately 8 years. It may be longer, but I'm not exactly sure about that. At least 2 funding cycles. Currently, through the OUR, we're not funding any undergraduate student, or we're not funding for employment any undergraduate students. We have a graduate research assistant in the office that's funded through grad studies, but not through OUR funding. Source is a different story at times, at least in the past. I'm not sure how that's going to work this year, but at this point. But this is how we're operating at this point. The mission of the Office of Undergraduate Research is to promote and support undergraduate research, scholarship, and creative activities in all disciplines and academic units. And that aligns neatly with the university mission, specifically to produce research, scholarship, and creative expression in the public interest, provide students with hands-on experiences, both preparing work to be presented at a conference or to get grants, etc. So that our mission lining up with the university mission. Again, removing source from the equation, we do travel and research grants, outside research opportunities, the end of quarter poster sessions, and new this year we're starting to do student highlights, and I'll explain more about that in a second. The travel and research grants are where the bulk of our funds go. This is 2 rounds each year, one in November and one in February. The February round is wrapping up currently, and I'll explain that in a second as well. The travel and research grants give students an opportunity to develop their grant writing skills, which is a skill that goes beyond individuals who are interested in research and scholarly activity, but they can take into their real-world experiences in the workplace about grant writing. So one of the things that we like to do with the grants is to provide a lot of feedback to the students and their mentors when they submit the grant. Well, we will often send it back to them asking for revisions, which is a very common process for those of you who have written grants before know. The outside opportunities, we are, the Central Washington University through the Office of Undergraduate Research is a institutional member of the Council of Undergraduate Research, which has additional grant opportunities for students based on their discipline. And then new last year, but highlighting it this year, the Student Opportunity Center, which is the largest service online that it provides a clearinghouse for all grants, internships, and experiential learning opportunities on campus. So every student on campus or student, faculty, and staff can join the Student Opportunity Center for free, sign up and look for, again, grant opportunities, internship opportunities, and experiential learning opportunities. I'll talk more about the numbers with that as well.
our end of quarter poster sessions are more of a class-based program. So this is for students and their instructors who want to present work that's done in the classroom at the end of the quarter. We set up the time and arrange and often print the posters for them so that students can present their work at the end of a quarter. And again, it's class-based in that. New this year, the student highlights. We are collaborating with research and sponsored programs and Wildcat Films to create short films, 1 to 2 minutes, to highlight research, mentored research that's going on around campus. So currently right now, we are working with the physics department to highlight research that's going on in physics, and we will put that, the Wildcat Films, they're filming now, is that correct? Yeah, and they're supposed to have a first draft of the film done for us by the end of the quarter for us to review, and then once we do that, then we'll upload that onto our website. Obviously, physics can use that on their website. We're collaborating with public affairs as well, so that public affairs can use this. But the goal is to highlight the things that students are doing as far as mentored research. This is our first round. We're just trying to see how it works. Next year, we're hoping to do many more of these videos across colleges and disciplines. Maybe. All right. So I already started and talked about our collaboration with Wildcat Films and research and sponsored programs and public affairs. For the travel and research grants, currently we are working with the colleges to get the colleges to contribute to our grant and travel and research grant funds. At this point, COTS is the only one who has joined us, but we are continually pushing and asking and encouraging CA, CEPS, and College of Business and the library to participate as well. I think it's a good opportunity so that students see that their college is also contributing to these research grants. Along those same lines, one of our goals this year is to get more grant applications from students from CA, CEPS, and College of Business, since the grants tend to be heavy on the COTS end. So starting in the fall, we promoted heavily about the research grants, the travel and research grants, I'm sorry, in those other colleges. And while CEPS is still the majority of students still come from CEPS, we did see an increase from CA and CEPS from last year. So we're going to continue doing that so that we can continue growing the travel and research grants, again, extending it beyond COTS. Mentorship workshops. This is something we're planning now for next year. One of the things as a way to get feedback from students and to specifically think about how we can promote mentored research, particularly among students who may not have those opportunities or may get overlooked in opportunities for mentored research, particularly women, students of color, first-generation students, etc. So one of the things we want to do in the fall quarter next year is to do focused mentoring workshops for specific groups of students to hear what they need and how we as the Office of Undergraduate Research can assist them in getting involved in experiential learning projects and research and scholarship and creative expression. Just about Student Serve, this is our information on the grants for this year. We don't have the funding. We're still in the process of awarding. Our grants committee met yesterday or the day before to decide on the application, so that's why we don't have the information. If all of them are funded, it will be $12,700. You can see the college breaks down here. So often the fall grant numbers are a little smaller than the winter because, again, we often will ask students to revise their application and resubmit them to us. So we'll see an increase in winter, or we'll see not duplicates, but revised applications in the winter. The Student Opportunity Center. So again, we really promoted this year since it is such a great resource for students. Since September, we've had 665 students sign up for the Student Opportunity Center, and we can also track their activity, not specific activity, but see how many of those students are actually using it regularly. And we saw that of the 665 students who have joined and engaged in some form, 200 of those students are engaged at what the system refers to as actively engaged. They're regularly coming back to the system and either highlighting research opportunities or grant opportunities, or saving searches for future reference, or actually applying to things. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
there any questions? Greg?
Yes.
So of those numbers, that you showed a fall and winter?
The grants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are any of those for creative expression?
Yes. If I can, did I walk away with the, okay, I did walk away with the. The 4 from Ka, 2 of them were from music, different programs for music, either students traveling to a conference, and for our grant applications, students have to be invited to present. So it's not, we don't fund projects where anyone can go. So those are projects where music students have been invited to attend, and we have funded at least part of that funding, yes. And this round, do you recall the Ka?
There's also.
To music.
To music and then sculptures.
Yeah, and sculpture. I'm missing the discipline. Yeah, art, yeah.
Sculpture?
There's a student presenting their work somewhere related to that, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Chair of the department, I don't know anything about it.
There you go. Yeah. So, and this is one of the reasons why we want to do student highlights.
Yeah.
Because I think your experience is not an unusual experience about people around campus not knowing what other people around campus are doing, often in their own department. So we're hoping to, in addition to the video highlights where we're collaborating with Wildcat Films, we also would love to create or to have a list on our page of all the student mentored projects going on around campus. We're currently brainstorming ways of actually doing that, because when we ask people, we often don't get responses. Like, what's going on in your department, we don't hear back. So any ways that you have suggestions for getting those lists would be wonderful.
Yeah, because I mean, as chair, I just, the way that Office of Undergraduate Research is set up, it's really not geared towards my discipline at all, my department.
I think
so that's,
you're correct in the past, and that's something we were
yeah, so that's
not
just
wanting
maybe
to
something
do.
we can
And I
figure
don't
out, because
necessarily think that it's that the office isn't set up for it. I think the language that we're using and the things that we're talking about.
but also the opportunities. There is no conferences for art students.
Right, but it doesn't have to be conferences.
Right. Well, you said that's what you fund.
No, we fund travel to presentations that could be
Exhibits.
Exhibits, absolutely. We would fund, as part of the research grant, we would fund mailing of your materials to something that you were doing, a project that you're working on, and things like that. Yeah.
Probably gonna see more from Art,
And that's wonderful. I hope we do see more from your discipline and other disciplines in your college. That would be wonderful.
Demetria.
So you spoke a lot about student highlights. And the current physics one, how did you come across that? Is it more of a nomination or specifically from you just hearing about it, I guess?
Great question. And like I was just saying, it was because physics jumped on it and responded and said, we'd love to do it. And here's what we have going on. So again, it was, we put the call out to disciplines across the board, and that's who, within a day, responded to us and said, we have a lab that we would love to highlight. Here's the information, and moved with it. So we're trying to build these relationships now so that we can do this. And this is going beyond the Office of Undergraduate Research. I think the university as a whole would like to have a better resource for students, faculty, and staff to know what's going on across campus. So we're a little small piece of that pie, but we are working with the Associate Provost's office to be a part of that, and so that we can highlight. And if any of you know programs that mentored scholarship, research, or creative expression across campus that you would like to highlight, either having it listed on our page or doing a small video with Wildcat Films, let us know, reach out, and we will set it up as quickly as we can and as we have funding. Other questions?
Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll jump into subsection B, which we don't have anything this week. So we'll jump right into other business communications received. I have not received any.
I have none.
So this is the second call for public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Joey.
As a reminder to let Kane talk talk if he wants to. Next Wednesday, the 6th, is the S&A Fair taking place in the CERT from noon to 4. So again, I know most if not all of our S&A base funded areas have been invited. I don't know how many have responded to attend, but it would be a great opportunity if maybe are available between noon and 4 to go through the CERT and just see, again, kind of a quasi, what we just saw here, being able to see what all we are funding and what all is available as a committee would be great if you get the opportunity or to pass along to others. Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah. Come stop by, please, if you all wanna sit at the table for a little bit for S&A and chat with students that come down. It's awesome. We're gonna have you all there. And Shelby already reached out and said that she was available, so.
So don't let me be alone. I'll just yell at people across the board. All right, any further public comment? Seeing none. Is there a motion for adjournment? And Brandon seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstaining? With that, we are adjourned at 6:05.